Today we look at a couple Mausers.
You're fired.
What? 3, 2, 1.
Good evening, this is David.
And this is Michael, and welcome to Second Amendment Shooters, for a gun review on a Mosin Nagant Finnish M28 30.
And if you really don't know a whole lot of Mosins and you've seen, videos of classic from the Pat Burns collection, you'd say, hey, an M39, but not quite. This one's actually pre-M39. This one's actually Finnish Civil Guard. This one's made in 1934. It was made by a company that still makes rifles today. This was made by Seiko. And this one actually served in the Finnish Civil Guard, which is basically like the citizen soldiers of Finland. And this one has actually served in the translated version is the Northern Uusimaa district of the Finnish Civil Guard unit. And the cool thing is it still has a Finnish Civil Guard sling and the original brass end cap here. And this is actually considered to be the crown jewel of Mosin Nagants, well, in my opinion, just because of the history behind it and how cool it is.
Oh, you mean with a Simo
Häyhä. And if you've never heard of Simo Häyhä, I would have you seriously consider looking it up. He was in the Finnish Civil Guard, and he served in the Winter War of 1939 and 40. And he actually was issued a M28 30, just like this right here. Then in the time span of 100 days, he got 575 confirmed kills with the rifle unmodified. No scope, no modifications at all.
Which, of course, earned him the nickname of the White Death.
And the funny thing is that, that was in the time in the winter where you get between 4 and 6 hours of daylight. So if you break down 575 confirmed kills, in a time span of 100 days, that's, between 5 and 6 kills a day, which is pretty impressive. With something like that...
Especially having to be stealthy with that, too.
Oh, yeah. They even sent whole, battalions after him, and they didn't come back. They sent sniper units to take care of this one guy, this one Finn, and they couldn't do it. But the way that his history kind of ended here was his military history. At the end of the war, he had his 28-30, and he was actually shot in the jaw, and he actually lost a good portion of his jaw, where the round went right through it, and he actually passed out from the pain, which I know most of you would.
What, he ate a bullet?
Yeah, pretty much.
Lovely.
But the funny thing is, he lived to the age of, it was either 94 or 96. And I think he passed in, I think it was 2004 or 2007. And when he was asked after the war what made him so great, he said practice. He said, I did as best as I could. I did what I was told as best as I could.
And I still only wish that I could ever shoot as well as he can.
Oh yeah.
Now, of course, and also getting back on the subject of the rifle. If you don't know a lot about what a Finnish Mosin Nagant is, basically what it was is that the Finns captured, say, a 9130 or a M91 or any type of Mosin Nagants and modified them. And actually improved them from what I can tell.
And the way that they modified them is... take the bolt out. What they tend to do is they tend to polish up the contact points on the bottom of the cocking knob, the locking lugs and all that. And basically everywhere where metal touches metal, so that way the rifle's a lot smoother. They tend to polish up the triggers, so a lot of the Finns you'll see will have a 5-pound trigger or less, and some, like this one right here, is actually 2-stage. You'll feel the first stage break right here, and you'll feel the second stage break right there. Which,
of course, with this 9130, it's standard Russian trigger, it does not do that. All I get is a good clean break, though. I think I got on this.
Heavy but clean.
Heavy but clean. Now, other advancements also is you get a far superior stock setup.
Mm-hmm. The Finns, what they used to do with some of the older rifles is they would take 2 pieces of a stock. Say this is an M91. They would cut the stock at about here, and they would splice it. So this rear half would be an M91 stock. Then from here to the end would be...
They'd make their own.
They would make their own. So because it tends to be cheaper than, making a stock out of one piece of wood versus two. So with this one right here, I don't know how well it's going to show, but right here is the splice of the wood, and if it looks like a finger groove like this, it's a wartime. The squared off is the post-war, and the kind of a sharper groove is going to be the transitional time period between the two.
Which, of course, that's just because they have a lot more time to do the blocky ones rather than the quick finger groove. Mm-hmm. Although both are very well done, and the Finns have been splicing their stocks together for years.
Mm-hmm. Then I don't know if you can really tell with the way the camera's set up, but this one's actually a post-war stock, and this is probably the nicest Finn stock I've ever seen on a 2830, and it's the closest I'll ever get to owning a brand new 2830.
Well, finding an unissued one.
You're not going to find one.
Yeah,
I can guarantee you probably will not find one.
Fair enough.
I mean, even finding one like this isn't very easy, just because they tend to be all beat up and all that. Not that the Finns didn't take good care of them; they just really used them. Then with these ones, they made them from 1932 to 1940, and these were ultimately replaced by the M39. But it did share a lot of similar resemblances to the M39. Like, it has the same M39 sight base, this with minor modifications. The barrel bands were changed out for something that wasn't so hard to take off, because the ones on the rear tend to be a major pain to take off and can't be taken off in a hurry.
Let's see. The first time we tried to take this thing out of its stock, it took us 10 minutes just to free the rear barrel band.
I'd say 15 with a screwdriver and some light tapping with a hammer to just get it to
slowly, crapping yourself every time I went near it.
Mm-hmm. But the cool thing is about with the 2830s is when they had these rifles in racks, they had to find quick ways to find which rifle was theirs without having to dig through the racks. So what they did was the last two numbers of the serial number is 81. So what they would do is on the 28s and 2830s, they would actually stamp the last two digits of the serial number actually into the butt plate right about here or so. And like I said, that was just done to make them a little bit easier to locate during the racks, so you don't have to go dig through them.
That's good. And they did, other advancements that the Finns did to their Mosin Nagants as they, improved them was mainly on the front sight. Because a standard M91, which this is a 9130, so it has a completely different sight setup, just has one solitary blade sight, which kind of can have kind of an awkward sight picture.
Yeah, and it could shoot, a little bit to the left, a little bit to the right, and the Finns thought of that. So right here, I don't know if you can really see it. I'll show you this side. It'll actually have a screw right here where you can move this to the left or to the right for windage.
And also the protected blade, I think, does give a much better sight picture. Yeah. Personally, I'm still in favor of a sight hood over a blade, even a protected blade.
Yeah, but what I like about the 2830 is you can see all the hatch marks right here. With a standard 9130, you have to adjust the sight in right about 50 meter increments. Then with this, you can be much more precise. With this one, it tends to be done in like 20 or 25 meter increments, so it's a lot more precise on how you're able to compensate for distance.
Well, yeah, they were punching these things out like hotcakes.
Yeah, when the Finns had
they could take their time a little bit on those.
Because what they did was they made the barrels, and they reached into bins for parts and made a rifle from parts. Then made a new stock around it.
Okay, we have tons of parts. What should we do?
With these, they basically made match grade rifles out of parts. Because what the funny thing was, during the war between Finland and Russia, when Russia decided to take over, they lost badly. That was right about 1918, and the Russians actually lost so badly that there was hundreds of thousands of rifles that were left behind, that the Finnish decided we could use these. Then what they did was because the Finnish really didn't have enough small arms to arm their troops, so they took a lot of the Russian rifles, and depending on how much time they had, sometimes they'll just stamp a little SA in a box for the Finnish property stamp, then out it went. with others, they took off the barrels, put brand new barrels on them, various modifications to them.
And they were doing modifications to Mosin's starting what 24
1920s.
Yeah, 2020s.
And it started with the first rifle that the Finns really made from Mosin would be the Model 24, or M91 24, which there'll be a video in the future
coming up on that
when I'm waiting on another rifle from the Finnish Civil Guard. But
yes, you really on a Finnish Mosin kick right now.
I own 10 Mosins and I like a little flavor.
Yeah, I own a whopping 2. Both are basically the same. Well, almost.
Yeah.
Now, of course, and that still fires a standard Mosin round. It's same chamber, same 7.62 by 54R. Rim is what R stands for, by the way.
Another modification that they made, speaking of the ammo, was right in here in the magazine assembly. Right about here, they made a little dimple to make it so it's less likely to get jammed up and all that. Because sometimes if you don't feed them just right, it'll decide to
hang up on the previous round.
It'll decide to get stuck in the round. Then you have to really force it or push it down to feed it. Then
or in certain bad cases of rim lock, you actually have to drop the floor plate and empty every round out of the mag and reload it. You wonder why they ever. There's a real wonder why they stopped doing rimmed cartridges.
Yeah, but I like to consider this the Cadillac of Mosin Nagant just by how smooth it is when it fires, just how nice the rifle is, how nice the stock is, and how nice the sights are. Then
you have the Cadillac, I have the Ford Pinto.
Pretty much.
Well, actually, I don't know. Actually, let's not say Ford Pinto. Let's go with Honda Civic again.
Honda Civic, yeah.
Because they made 9130s by the thousands, by the millions almost, right?
Yeah. Then with these, there was only about 22,000 made. I want to say between 22 and 25,000 made. They made about 2,000 per year that they made them. Maybe a little bit more, a little bit less.
Very good. Very good.
Then we'll use some magic here to show this rifle in action. One thing I like about these is just the quality of the stock. I mean, with a post-war rifle, they didn't worry about putting a shellac finish or anything like that. They just did a straight oil finish. Then
this isn't shellac either. This is my refinish job.
It's closer to shellac than this is right here. This is just an oil finish. Then I think they use a better quality wood on the stock. With the Russians, they tend to use
Arctic birch.
That was the Finns.
No, that was the Finns that did the
Finns
Arctic
use
birch.
Arctic birch, where sometimes you'll see, almost like a flame pattern of their stock, which is real nice.
Tiger striping. I love that. That stuff is beautiful. And of course, so this one, that's made out of Arctic birch. Well, what about the 91 half?
Depending on who made it, if it was an M91, if it was an American M91, it'd be black walnut,
which is nice.
Which, like my Westinghouse, half the rear half of the stock from here back is black walnut. Then the front half is Arctic birch, which you can tell, but it looks nice.
So if it was Russian, like this would be wood.
Yeah, just
this is true Russian wood.
Anywhere from like a beech to maybe a walnut. It all depends on what they had. The thing I love about these Finn rifles, getting back on subject, is you'll find a bunch of parts from different places, different countries, different makers that made these. Like usually you'll find mostly Russian parts. Like the receiver came off a 1915 Tula M91.
Oh.
Like the bolt connectors, Westinghouse, which is made in America. The bolt is Izhef, made in Russia. The magazine was made in Russia as well. It's just kind of cool to take it apart, find out which parts came from.
Which, by the way, rifles. I mean, if you do have Mosin Nagant, it doesn't really matter which one. It is really fun to kind of figure out where everything came from, especially with stuff that is mismatched. I mean, this one basically has all the same parts, because actually it's mainly numbers matching, isn't it?
Not original parts matching, but
they were force matched to each other. Yeah. But they still have all matching numbers, all the way down to the bayonet that I have for this thing. I love that.
And finding a bayonet for this thing can cost you as much as the rifle can.
And the rifle will cost you how much? When you got that, it was what?
It was
$5.
It was $5.30 plus shipping, which
plus shipping and FFL and all that fun stuff.
But with something like this, it's not out of the question. For as nice as the stock is, the stock is pretty much new. There's a little ding here. There's a little nick here, but other than that, the stock is like perfect.
And that's the thing. You can actually find some really nice ones out there. That one's not quite run of the mill. That one's a little bit above run of the mill.
And this one's the first year they actually dated the barrels.
So that makes it a little bit nicer.
Yeah, this is the first year they actually dated them. But the thing about the Finns is they actually took care of their rifles, which means, a lot of times with these you'll see, almost perfect bores. Like with this one right here, so you can get a shot.
Don't even bother, it doesn't go through.
But the bores with these tend to be perfect, or pretty close to it. And this one, for being made in the barrel will be made in 1934. It's still bright and shiny like the day it was made.
This one, unfortunately, I think a past owner, not you, someone before that didn't quite clean this thing like it's supposed to be cleaned.
Well, during war, you really can't do that.
No, I'm talking before war, like after war, actually, I should say. You know what time it's for, right?
It's time to rate it.
It's time to rate the rifle. We're not going to rate the 9130 because that's another video for another day.
Yeah. Well, in terms of accuracy, I'd give it a 10, just because of how nice the barrel is. It's basically a match-grade barrel, even with this crummy, corrosive stuff that's that it eats. But
what do you think overall? Like out of everything on it, and especially comparing it to the other Mosins that you do have access to?
I still say a 10, just because of the history behind it.
So you'd say that is your favorite Mosin you own?
One of them.
One of, if not the.
Yeah, one if not the. As of right now.
I'm sorry to say I don't entirely agree with you.
Well, what do you think is your favorite of the ones that I own?
How about both of us own? Because I still maintain, and this is nothing against Mosin Nagant in general, I still prefer a 9130 sight picture. It's just, I don't know why it is. It's just, I think they're a little bit more refined and you can see better. That one is also just a little bit too flat for me. Because, with the 9130, you get this nice raised sight picture. So, overall, I give it an 8. 8 about 10.
It's definitely meant for people that have good eyesight, too. Because sometimes these little V-notches can be microscopic.
Well, you know me. I have wonderful eyesight.
Oh, yeah.
I just wear these to look cool.
Yeah.
I don't wear them because I need to see better. So, you give it 10, I give it an 8. What's with all our rifles coming out to 18? Every time we do one of these, because it's here. The K31 came out to an 18. Your AR came out to an 18. My AR came out to an 18.
Mm-hmm. Lucky number 18.
18 is just one of our favorite numbers, apparently.
Yep. This is David.
This is Michael.
Signing off from Second Amendment Shooters. If you like the video, please leave a like below. Comment on what you think of the video, and
subscribe for some more stuff, and also check out our Facebook and our Twitter page.
Then if you thought we left something out, leave a comment below, or if you want to know more, let us know.
We'll be happy to answer any comments and questions you have.
And there'll be more videos to come with many more Mosins and many more other nice rifles and handguns down the road.
Okay, so 1, 2, 3. But the flip-up sight it kind of goes with the rail system a little bit better, in my opinion.
But I think the carrying handle gives it a better look.
We're going to see how long it takes us to cycle the action. Both of the actions on these are very crisp, might I add. All right, 3, 2, 1. Oh, that's pretty close, but I'm fast. All right, 3, 2, 1.
Every time you call Mosin a Mauser, I lose my shit.
But it is a Mauser.